Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. My name is ID. As always, I'm here to give you a review. Now, for the past couple of weeks, my computer's had some weird virus, and it took me forever just to get this thing recovered. So I wasn't able to play any new releases, and I'm still trying to reinstall some software. So, basically, for the past few weeks, I broke out PS2 that used PS2, old PS2, and I played God Hand. None of you have heard that. I am betting that none of you have even heard that game. Well, you see, I wouldn't have either. I played it with a friend back when it came out. So, I just, so I'm like, hey, I haven't seen this game around anymore. I might as well buy it. Now, God Hand was made by Shinji Mikami. He is the man behind Resident Evil and Resident Evil 4, the only good one. So, it's also it was made by Clover Studio, the last game Clover Studio ever released before being kicked off by Capcom because Capcom cannot accept anything good and they must throw it out. I'm honestly surprised this game ever got a bad review. I mean, this is one of the few games that I have had honest pleasure playing. The graphics aren't pleasing, but it's the PS2. What were you expecting? And to judge a game by its graphics is like judging a black hole by its visibility. It's not really an issue. And if it's there, it's nice. And if it's not, you shouldn't really care. But I mean, you got some beautiful games like Skyrim and Crysis. Those games are improved by their graphics, but you got God Hand, which again, the graphics are kind of shit, but, it's still a pretty good game, nonetheless. And it does have an interesting mechanic. There's this thing, spectacle fighters, got Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, a bunch of other games, can't name off the top of my head, that they focus less on the idea of the fight, the challenge in the combat, and focus more on the visual of the combat. You can call God Hand a spectacle fighter if you want, but it's not really a spectacle fighter. So, and people might be confused about this because you have a whole list of moves that are basically an animation. Roulette moves. But the combat is difficult enough to be appealing, If you ever play any older games, they are a lot harder than modern ones. I got softened up by playing like Gears of War, and I didn't really like it. Battlefield, Modern Warfare, Black Ops, and then I throw on Resident Evil 4 because I felt like, because again my computer crashed. I'm playing it, and I die like 8 times in the opening scene, and I realize this is a good game, and it's difficult. There you go. And so, if you're used to the newer games, trust me, these are a lot harder. If you're gonna go out and buy God Hand, for Christ's sake, don't get frustrated, because this thing can get very frustrating. But basically, it's difficult enough to where it's not a spectacle fighter, but it's not so difficult that's like Demon Souls, where it's basically required you die like 3 or 4 times. God Hand, it was a third person brawler. It was done before, but what wasn't done before was from right behind the character. Most third-person fighters have from farther behind the character, because if you can't see what's going on all around you, you're gonna end up dying. Because you have to be able to see, because with most brawlers, you've got characters that can do super moves, so you have to be able to get out of the way of them. And if they're coming from behind you can't really see them, so you have to have a camera farther back than what God Hand had. It was literally just like over his shoulder. it caught that was one of the issues that a lot of people focused on. Although while I was playing it, all I really did was mash on this square and X buttons, occasionally hitting triangle when I got surrounded by everyone, or when I was doing the sprint attack because running at someone and then jumping into the air and kicking them in the face to have them spin out and then punch their friend in the boobs is amazing. Just gonna put that out there. So to focus on the plot, I mean, there wasn't really much of a plot. If you really just wanted the end of the plot, it's kind of weird. It's controversial, to say the least. I mean, nowadays, if you made a game like that, you'd have every anti-games activist jumping on it saying, this is why games are evil. It had ridiculously offensive bosses. I mean, you had the demon woman who was basically a whore. You had the fat Mexican dude called Elvis who smoked cigar, referred to everyone as Chica, Chico, or Ese. You had the other god hand who was like an angsty white boy. And then you had the two gay guys who, and I'm swear, those two guys might as well be gay exotic dancers. And then if you actually got into the plot, it was about a guy who saved a woman from getting raped, got his arm cut off, got the arm of a god stitched to himself, and then he has to fight legions of Mexicans to be able to save this woman even further, even though she's not really in any danger. I mean, there are a bunch of controversial topics, and I mean, it wasn't really like today's shooters, like Call of Duty and Battlefield and Medal of Honor, where you got legions of people that are brown coming after us perfect white people. Mexican right here, so that we can just gun them down mercilessly. This game was more of I'm a single man with a arm of a god. I am mixed, and I am ready to beat up fat Mexicans and his leader. And it wasn't really it wasn't like modern day offensive. It was more of offensive in another way. Now back to the bosses. I mean, there were some really, really good bosses in the game. And not all of the bosses were boss fights. I mean, you had the two gay blokes. They were one interesting fight.
Hey! Sweetie! You're not going anywhere until you answer our quiz question! He's such a sexy man! Just my type!
I'm not that kind of guy.
Question time, sweet cheeks. What's the name of our boss? Elvis! Elvis!
Like I give a shit.
Unfortunately, time's up, baby. Aww.
And then you also had other fights. With one of them was Human Fireworks Fun. I'm sorry, I can't get any footage of that one. I'm really sorry. Where you basically have to stop a dude from being fired off into the sky, strapped to a firework, while fighting off one of those fat Mexican brute guys. And also fighting off legions of the basic guys while they light fuses to send this guy sky high. So the bosses were very creative, in my opinion, personally. And so it was good. The bosses were interesting. The combat, it wasn't broken like a lot of brawlers where you just have the one combo that's overpowered. The combos were achieved by more of mashing on the square button. Those were the combos, basically. Square punch, square double punch, square hook, square, other hook, pimp slap, luchador, murder, brouhaha. And then there were the roulette moves, which you had to build up. I don't even know what they called it. Roulette points, and you pick those up off of cards, or simply by doing or simply by killing guys, which then allows you to do special moves like my personal favorite was the Kung Fu Samba, which you jumped up into the air, kicked two guys, uppercut one, and then threw one into the wall. And then there's also others like the Dragon Kick, the Daisy Cutter, Shockwave. They're basically all purpose, and they did help out in combat, but they weren't one of those things that you end up relying on because it's an extremely limited supply. Then, of course, the God Hand. You got that by building up tension, and you could get tension from either punching dudes in the face or staring at boobs. I'm not even joking with that one. What happened was that some characters would drop cards with cleavage on it, and you would pick it up and you'd stare at it, and your tension bar would fill up. Another controversial thing Clover Studio did. Yeah, I got to liking these guys really quick. So, and the God Hand basically puts you in a kill all humans type way. You know, your speed tripled, your damage tripled. Although it was limited to how much tension you had built up, and the tension gauge is very small at the beginning, and you got buy power-ups to increase it. And so, you know, what I recommend doing is when those demons pop up randomly when you kill a monster, save it for that, because those guys are impossible to fight without it. And so, all in all, it was a good game. And I will beg on my hands and knees for there to be more studios like this. If Clover Studio had come back and made a God Hand 2 that improved on the idea, that fixed some of the issues. I wish and that these kinds of games would be made more often. And I hate you guys, because you guys are the reason why you get Halo and Gears of War and Call of Duty and Modern and Battlefield and Medal of Honor, because you guys are scared of difference. Gotta get something different. Play God Hand. If you do not find this game interesting, then you have been brainwashed by modern gaming, which is all about the spectacle, very little about the actual gameplay. Now, you don't have to buy the PS2 to play God Hand. It is also on the PS3 marketplace. I recommend go out, get that right now if you do not already have it. If you don't own a PS3 or a PS2, go buy EB Games or GameStop or GameSpot or whatever place you've got nearby you. Buy a PS2, see if they have God Hand, see if they'll order it, because they probably don't. Unless they're in Japan. It's sold really well in Japan, horribly in the United States, and moderately in Britain. Australia, I think it was banned. Like everything else. This is a good game. I have a hard time scoring. I don't really want to score the older games that I review, because these are more of my personal favorites, or some shit I just feel like didn't get beaten well the first time. So basically, I'm gonna give this one a 9 out of 10. There were some slight issues. If you got the right combos, then you were set. But it was well balanced enough to warrant a 9 out of 10. So, yeah, giving a good score killed part of me. So anyways, go out, buy God Hand. Trust me. It's even humorous at times, because you're following the power gene, the man who turns everyone else into punching bags, specifically fat Mexicans. Always a good thing.